Drug pricing in focus on Capitol Hill. Senators criticizing the CEOs of Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Bristol-Myers Squibb during a hearing of the Health and Education Committee. Lawmakers said that the high cost of prescription drugs in America means many people can't afford the medications they need. Our next guest says there are a number of easy reforms that Congress can enact if it can simply get beyond a focus on price controls. Joining us right now, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, former FDA Commissioner, CNBC contributor. He serves on the boards of Pfizer and Illumina. So you might be talking, I don't know if you're speaking you're talking your book or talking against your book, Scott, but how would you do it?
Well, look, clearly the high prices pressure consumers. There's no question about that. But what we need to recognize also in the marketplace is that many consumers now are underinsured for drugs. What we've seen over the last decade is the advent of closed drug formularies in health plans, where more and more drugs are completely uncovered. Fully 50% of all single-source brand-name drugs are uncovered. So there's no coverage provided by the health insurance plan, not even co-insurance. That's a relatively new phenomenon in the marketplace. It really started with the Affordable Care Act, and now it's seeped into commercial insurance plans. And so that's a large reason why consumers increasingly feel the bite from drug costs. Last year, actually, in 2023, was the first year where net and list prices came down in modern times. So drug price inflation has moderated. You know, if I was trying to lower prices, I'd look for places.
Scott, don't you think there's an argument to be made that actually because the prices are high and the customer is feeling it, that actually prices have come down because, you know, when you have insurance, it oftentimes just becomes a runaway in terms of pricing the actual drugs, no?
Well, look, there is rebating in the marketplace. So the companies do discount to try to get onto formularies, but they pay those discounts in the form of back-ended rebates, which are really fungible dollars that health plans use to cross-subsidize the cost of the insurance, the premiums, and not necessarily flow back to the consumers who are out of pocket for the drug costs. So there's a lot of things in the marketplace where consumers are disadvantaged. They're uncovered for an increasingly large share of their drugs, in part because of the higher prices. Plans use exclusions on formularies as a way to try to extract discounts and avoid high-priced drugs. And then when the drug companies do discount, rather than paying those discounts in forms that benefit the consumers who are actually picking up the drug at a pharmacy counter, they're paid in the form of rebates that the health plans use to try to buy down the cost of premiums across the entire plan. So the patients who need the drugs and who need high-cost drugs really are disadvantaged in this scheme. Now, there are things, to get back to your point at the top, there are things I think you can do to make the market much more competitive. You can allow biosimilars to be fully interchangeable, so that's a true generic market. I think there needs to be a focus on places where it's hard to get generics into the market, where there's barriers to generic entry, and those still exist. I think you can introduce competitive bidding inside the Medicare Part B plan, so Medicare isn't just a price taker on injectable drugs, but can do things like create formularies and competitively bid for those drugs like it does in the Part D plan. So there are ways, I think, to make the market more competitive and try to push down the price of drugs and increase competition for these branded companies. I think we also, finally, I would just point out, need to look at second-to-market innovation. With a lot of these branded categories now, once a drug comes onto the market, many times these markets are too small to sustain second-to-market innovation, so other drug companies will pull out of these categories because the high cost of getting that second-to-market drug onto the market. I think we need to look at ways to try to make that process more efficient so that we instigate competition within some of these small drug categories, which are increasing the focus of drug makers.
We often talk about competition being part of the problem, but we often talk about the elasticity and the sort of agents that are sort of taking a piece of everything, and also the sort of lack of transparency around pricing that allows this sort of remarkable elasticity. What do you think is the underlying problem?
Well, the fully loaded cost of getting a single patient into a clinical trial for a complex drug like a cell therapy could literally be $1 million. That's an actual figure. So the cost of drug development has gone up exorbitantly. At the same time that drug makers are forced to provide discounts in more aspects of the market, 340B, Medicaid, and at the same time that their patent windows have been narrowed. The IRA does that. It's effectively a loss of exclusivity on drugs. And so what drug makers have to do to recoup those high costs of development and also pay for the risk that they're taking is spread out the revenue that they're going to achieve over a small number of patients. And those, unfortunately, end up being commercially insured patients who are paying the highest prices because of the discounting across the market. So thinking that forced and mandated discounts and price controls in one aspect of the market don't affect pricing in other aspects of the market and push up pricing elsewhere, we just can't think that way anymore. It is having that effect. So there's a lot of distortions in this market that are pushing up these high prices. The final point I'll make, the drug makers aren't just facing headwinds in the U.S. They're facing a lot of headwinds in Europe right now. There's new legislation there that would reduce patent windows from 10 to 8 years and force drug makers to launch in every EU country, even those where they get very bad pricing that is ultimately used as a reference price. And Europe's increasingly an unattractive market for U.S. drug makers. And so there are a lot of revenue pressures on the drug makers now. They need to get the drugs onto the market and ramp sales much more quickly because their patent windows are going to expire sooner. And that means investing more money in each drug that comes to the market, taking fewer shots on goal. And that's going to be a problem in the future.